Welcome back to Secrets of Area 51. Last time we explored the origins of this mysterious base. Today we're diving into the heart of the Cold War. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a battle for supremacy. One major advantage was intelligence. To understand the enemy, you had to see what they were doing. But how do you spy on a superpower from above? That's where Area 51 comes in. It became the birthplace of a revolutionary aircraft. This was the U-2 spy plane. In this episode, we'll uncover the story of the U-2. The U-2 was born out of necessity. Traditional methods of reconnaissance were no longer enough. The US needed a way to gather intelligence from high above. Engineers and scientists set to work. They had to design a plane that could fly higher than ever before. It had to be fast enough to evade enemy fighters, and it had to carry sophisticated cameras to capture detailed images.
The U-2's design was revolutionary. Its wings were long and narrow, designed for high-altitude flight. Testing it would prove to be just as challenging.
The Cold War was a chess match between superpowers. Each side tried to outmaneuver the other. Intelligence was crucial. Knowing your enemy's capabilities and intentions could mean the difference between war and peace. The US and the Soviet Union both had their spies on the ground, but traditional espionage had its limits. A new approach was needed.
Both sides turned to technology, and they looked to the skies for answers.
Aerial reconnaissance was not a new concept. During World War II, both sides used planes to spy on each other. But these planes had limitations. They couldn't fly very high, they were vulnerable to enemy fighters. The Cold War demanded something better. The US needed a plane that could fly above the range of Soviet defenses. It had to be fast and agile.
This new breed of spy plane would have to operate in complete secrecy. The stakes were high.
Traditional reconnaissance planes relied on speed and maneuverability. They would dash in low, snap their photos, and get out quickly. But Soviet air defenses were getting stronger.
They had radar that could detect planes from miles away. They had fast interceptors ready to scramble. The US needed a different approach. Flying low and fast was no longer enough. They needed to fly higher, above the reach of Soviet defenses.
But flying at such altitudes posed its own challenges. The U-2 would have to overcome these obstacles. The need for a high-altitude spy plane was clear, but designing and building one would be a monumental task. It would require cutting-edge technology, innovative engineering, and a healthy dose of secrecy.
The US turned to a select group of individuals up to the challenge. They were pioneers, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. They worked in secret, hidden away from the public eye.
The U-2 spy plane was not just a technological marvel, it was a symbol of America's commitment to staying one step ahead in the intelligence game. The task of designing the U-2 fell to a legend in aviation. His name was Clarence Kelly Johnson. Johnson was a brilliant engineer with a knack for thinking outside the box.
Johnson led a team of talented engineers at Lockheed's Advanced Development Projects Unit. This secretive division was better known by its nickname, the Skunk Works. The Skunk Works was the perfect breeding ground for innovation.
Johnson and his team understood the gravity of their task. The U-2 needed to be more than just a high-flying plane. It needed to be a masterpiece of engineering.
The Skunk Works was more than just a name. It was a philosophy. It represented a radical departure from the traditional way of designing and building aircraft. Secrecy was paramount. The team worked in a secluded hangar, hidden from prying eyes.
The Skunk Works operated with a sense of urgency. The Cold War was escalating and the US needed intelligence fast. Johnson and his team worked long hours, pushing themselves to the limit.
Traditional design processes were thrown out the window. The Skunk Works was a place where the impossible became possible. Designing a plane to fly at the edge of space was no easy feat. The U-2 had to be lightweight yet strong enough to withstand the stresses of high-altitude flight. Its wings had to be long and slender to generate lift in the thin air, and its engine had to be powerful enough to propel it to altitudes never before reached by a single-engine aircraft.
One of the biggest challenges was designing the U-2's landing gear. Johnson's team came up with an ingenious solution. They equipped the U-2 with outrigger wheels that detached during takeoff.
The U-2's cockpit was another engineering marvel. Every aspect of the U-2's design was a testament to the ingenuity and determination of Johnson's team.
After months of intense work, the U-2 was ready for its maiden flight. The date was August 1st, 1955. The location was Groom Lake, Nevada, a dry lake bed in the middle of nowhere that would later become known as Area 51. The test pilot was Tony Levere, a veteran pilot known for his skill and nerve.
The first flight was a success. The U-2 performed flawlessly, soaring to altitudes that had never been reached before by a plane of its kind. It was a historic moment, marking the birth of a new era in aerial reconnaissance.
Word of the U-2's capabilities quickly spread through the intelligence community. The U-2 had the potential to change the course of the Cold War, but building the plane was only the first step. Area 51 was perfect for its secrecy. Surrounded by vast deserts and rugged mountains, it was a no-man's land. The dry lakebed provided a natural runway, long enough for the U-2's unique landing requirements. A massive construction project was about to begin at S5, destination Groom Lake. The U-2 needed a testing ground, a place far from prying eyes, a place where it could fly freely, pushing the limits of its capabilities. The search led to a remote, desolate corner of Nevada, a place known only by its map designation Area 51. The transformation of Area 51 began in secrecy. Construction crews worked tirelessly under the cover of darkness. New hangars were erected to house the U-2 and its support equipment. Living quarters were built for the influx of personnel. As the base took shape, a small army of engineers, technicians, and support staff descended upon Area 51. They were the unsung heroes of the U-2 program, their contributions hidden from the public eye. S5. Security was paramount. The base was fenced off and heavily guarded. The workers were sworn to secrecy. With the base nearing completion, the U-2 test flights began. It was a time of intense excitement and trepidation. The U-2 was a radical departure from conventional aircraft.
Tony Levere, the Skunk Works chief test pilot, was the first to take the U-2 to the skies over Area 51. He pushed the plane to its limits, exploring its flight envelope, probing for any weaknesses.
The test flights were not without their share of incidents. The U-2's tendency to tip over on landing led to a number of mishaps. But with each flight, the team learned more about the U-2, identifying and resolving problems. As the testing progressed, the U-2 soared higher and higher, venturing into the stratosphere, a realm of thin air and extreme temperatures. It was uncharted territory for a single-engine aircraft.
The pilots who flew the U-2 were a special breed. We were test pilots chosen for our exceptional flying abilities and our willingness to push the limits. We knew the risks, but we also understood the importance of our mission.
The U-2 test program at Area 51 was a resounding success. The plane had proven itself capable of flying at altitudes and for distances that had once been deemed impossible. But the U-2 story was far from over. The U-2 was a powerful tool, but its power lay in its secrecy. If the Soviets knew about the U-2, they could take steps to counter it. They could try to shoot it down, or they could hide their activities. The US government went to extraordinary lengths to keep the U-2 program hidden from the world. Area 51, already a remote and secretive location, became even more so. Access to the base was heavily restricted. Only those with top-secret clearances were allowed anywhere near the U-2.
The secrecy extended beyond Area 51. The U-2 was a ghost, its existence known only to a select few.
Keeping the U-2 a secret wasn't just about physical security, it was also about managing information. The government couldn't very well admit that they were flying spy planes over the Soviet Union, so they came up with elaborate cover stories. One common cover story was that the U-2s were weather research planes.
When asked about the U-2, government officials would talk about high-altitude meteorology and atmospheric research. The truth was far more clandestine. The government's deception campaign was remarkably effective. Despite the best efforts of the US government, there were close calls. Soviet radar sometimes detected the U-2, but the plane typically flew too high to be intercepted. Still, there were moments of tension as Soviet fighters scrambled to reach the elusive intruder.
On a few occasions, the U-2 was photographed by civilians. These incidents were quickly hushed up, with the government claiming that the photos were of experimental aircraft or weather balloons.
The government's commitment to secrecy was absolute. They knew that if the U-2 program was exposed, it could have serious consequences. The stakes were simply too high to allow the truth to be known.
The people who worked on the U-2 program lived with a unique burden. They knew the truth but couldn't share it, not even with their families.
The pilots faced enormous pressure. They flew solo missions over enemy territory, risking capture or death.
The secrecy took its toll. They felt the weight of the lies they were forced to tell. The U-2 was designed to spy on the Soviet Union. Its high-altitude capability allowed it to fly above Soviet air defenses, capturing images of military installations and other targets.
The U-2's first missions were met with excitement and anxiety. No one knew how the Soviets would react. The stakes were high, but the intelligence gains were too great to ignore.
The U-2 pilots, highly trained, carried out their missions with skill and courage. The U-2's primary payload was a sophisticated camera system.
From an altitude of over 70,000 feet, the U-2's cameras could capture incredibly detailed images.
Analysts pored over the photos, looking for any clues about Soviet military capabilities and intentions.
The U-2 photos provided a wealth of intelligence. They revealed the locations and types of Soviet missiles, the size and disposition of their armed forces, and the progress of their nuclear weapons program.
This information was crucial for US policymakers who relied on it to make informed decisions about national security.
The U-2 photos also helped to dispel some of the myths surrounding the Soviet Union. For years, US intelligence had overestimated Soviet military strength.
The U-2 photos showed that while the Soviets were a formidable adversary, they were not as powerful as some had feared.
The Soviets were not oblivious to the U-2 overflights. Their radar systems could detect the U-2, but they lacked the capability to shoot it down. They scrambled fighters to intercept the elusive spy plane.
U-2 pilots relied on their skills to evade Soviet interceptors. It was a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Section 4, a legacy of espionage. The U-2 spy plane played a pivotal role in the Cold War. Its ability to gather intelligence on the Soviet Union was unmatched.
The U-2's photos helped to prevent misunderstandings and keep the peace. The U-2 program also impacted Area 51. The base's role in testing the spy plane cemented its reputation for cutting-edge technology.
The U-2's legacy extends beyond the Cold War. Section 1, the U-2's enduring legacy. The U-2 spy plane stands as a symbol of the Cold War. It represents a time of high tension, technological innovation, and relentless pursuit of information.
The U-2's development and deployment was a remarkable feat. It required the brightest minds, working in absolute secrecy, to overcome unprecedented engineering challenges. More than just a plane, the U-2 changed the intelligence game.
It gave the US a crucial window into Soviet capabilities, helping to prevent misunderstandings and potentially even war. Its images provided invaluable insights, shaping strategic decisions at the highest levels.
Area 51, once a nondescript location in the Nevada desert, became synonymous with the U-2. The base's role in this top-secret program cemented its place in history, shrouded in mystery and intrigue.
The U-2 story is inseparable from Area 51's legacy. The U-2 ushered in a new era of aerial reconnaissance. It demonstrated the importance of high-altitude flight, advanced sensors, and stealth technology. The quest for better, faster, and stealthier aircraft continues. While the U-2 is still in service, its successors are even more impressive. These planes operate in the shadows, often unknown to the public. Area 51 played a role in their development, pushing technological boundaries. Join us next time as we delve into the A-12 Oxcar. Explore its connection to the U-2, its speed, stealth, and daring missions. Prepare to be amazed by the next chapter in Area 51's history. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Share this video and keep the conversation alive.